everyone, Bren here. It's so good to be back, and guess what? Today is the very first day of autumn here in Australia. Where has the summer gone to? I don't know. Well, it's been a while since I've posted here on my channel, Gigi the Garden Girl. So I thought for today's video, let's just take a look at a few little things that have been going on in the garden. So let's get into it now. I love what's happening here in this patch of my garden. Nature is just doing its own thing. There's a squash plant and a tomato plant. Both are self-seeded as they sprawl amongst the dahlia plant. This appears to be a pimply squash. You can see all the little bumps there on the skin. But I've got a feeling that it cross-pollinated with one of those little gourds I grew last year, because it looks very similar to one of those varieties. This unexpected arrangement, I think it really showcases the resilience and the adaptability of nature, how they can all just work together. They seem to be healthy and thriving. They're all in an area that gets plenty of sun, sharing this space happily together. This huge dahlia plant is one which was grown from saved seed. I haven't been keeping on top of the deadheading, so I'll have to come in and trim some of these up to encourage more blooms. This tomato plant is one of those little sweet mini cherry types, well, a bit smaller than cherry. This particular one seems to self-seed every year. I can see a ripe one. There's a better look. It's quite a nice little combination of these three plants, and I especially like the variety in foliage. Like the squash foliage is large and leafy, and then you have the smaller foliage of the dahlia and the tomato plants, which always smell great too. And then of course I can't see any open at the moment. This one was probably open today, but you have these huge blooms from the squash and they attract heaps and heaps of bees. I often find bees in these, covered in pollen. It's so cute. Like most of my garden, this new cut flower patch needs so much love and attention. I'm feeling really bad because I haven't done work in here in a couple of weeks, and you can tell it needs weeding, a fresh layer of mulch. Plants need to be pruned back, and with all these plants flopping over, I need to spend a decent amount of time staking them up so that we get nice tall straight stems. This particular dahlia I'm going to grow more of next year. I had a couple of tubers. I think I actually divided them up in this space. Now unfortunately I'm not sure of its name. What is in there? Better not poke around. I don't have my gloves on. Yeah, I think it may be first prize, but I'll have to have a look over my purchases. But the reason why I'm going to grow this again and try and get some more plants on the go is because look at it. Lovely long straight stems. The flowers are quite firm. They hold up nicely in the vase, and it's quite prolific. Now granted, it could do better because I didn't deadhead them. I really need to like cut this one off here down there, which will help redirect the energy into this new flower bud. Considering how tall it is, it's still managing to stay up fairly straight, supporting all of these blooms on top. I've noticed the zinnias are beginning to slow down. I just think it's because these plants have been pumping out the blooms and they're getting a little bit tired. The soil perhaps down there is lacking in nutrients to support this abundance of flowers. I'm gonna have to fertilize this area and try and get a bit more going out of it before the cooler weather of autumn sets in. Cosmos are also another plant that needs a lot of deadheading. I can see so many blooms that are finished, some that are setting seed. Oh, look what I just saw. Oh, I missed it. There was a little bee that went in here. So yeah, I think what I'll do today is I need to pick a bunch of flowers for my bouquets, and then I'll do the deadheading, and then maybe on the weekend if I have time I'll come back and get those other jobs done which I just spoke about, which are a little bit more labour intensive. Do you remember in row 1 and row 3 I put in some more zinnia seedlings a while back now, maybe about 5 weeks? Well, I have a number of them which are flowering. So this one here, actually there's a better example, but it's a bit of a bent stem. This is the canary bird yellow. Behind them I have a bunch of these flowers which are the zinnias, a variety called Purple Prince. I did have some white teddy bear zinnias, which I believe are these. Now I'm not 100% sure because my trays got mixed up, but we'll know soon enough because there are buds forming. Hopefully I get some white flowers too, so at least I have some fresh blooms coming from new healthier plants. You have the white, the purple and the yellow. So sunny and glary out. Hopefully you can see these flowers. If we take a look around the back of the cosmos, you'll see the weight of the stems have caused the plant to topple over. So I'll have to give them a stake. And you know what, they're so thick. Let me go in and show you. Look at the size of that. An annual flower cosmos. And the stem is as big as, I don't know, maybe a sunflower stem. So to hold this one up, I'm going to have to use a tomato stake. Ladybugs love the cosmos. I find the same with fennel and dill. I don't know if they're attracted to the frilly foliage, but in my experience they seem to always be on these 3 plants. Still plenty of bees about today. Here's a new dahlia that opened up since my last video. I've picked this much so far, but it is extremely hot out. I'm not sure what the temp is. I'm actually cutting them in the middle of the day, which isn't the ideal time. It's much better to cut your flowers either early morning or late in the afternoon. And I just noticed there, I probably didn't do the wiggle test properly on this one because the stem isn't actually firm enough yet and it has already bent over, so that was a bit of a waste. Otherwise the others are looking pretty good. This one here is slightly over. See how the center has elongated? I'd rather it be smaller than that, like say here. That's more of the ideal stage I'd like to pick the flowers at. So I may just keep this one for the kitchen because it doesn't look the prettiest. What do you reckon? Maybe I'm being a bit fussy. I bought a bunch of seedlings when I was down at Tarmore Garden Centre this morning. The seedlings I started a few weeks back have all died on me from complete and utter neglect. And it's not just them, unfortunately, it's the garden too. I haven't done anything outside in about 3 weeks. So I was just like, oh, all these lovely cool climate seedlings have come in. Why don't I just buy a tray and it'll get me started, and then I can start fresh with my seed sowing again over the weekend. I purchased a mix of flowers and then edible crops. I've got cauliflower, broccoli. For blooms I've got dianthus, hollyhocks, foxgloves and violas. 2 different varieties. I just knocked over this. So the dianthus are a dwarf variety. They only reach 20 centimeters. I'll pop these in probably a container in my small space garden, but you can also grow dianthus for cut flowers too. But for the moment I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just going to concentrate on getting these ones planted out. I don't know about you, but I always seem to have a plant that I'm never successful in growing, but I continue to try. And I have to say hollyhocks is one of them. Actually, no, that's not fair. I did grow a variety, I can't remember the name. It was really like a really dark purple colour that did well. But these ones, I don't know, they seem to succumb to disease. I got a lot of scale growing on the foliage. But you know, I'm going to give it another try because that's what I do. So hopefully I'll be successful with these this year. I love growing foxgloves. These can be added into bouquets, but something I don't really feel super comfortable about doing because they are actually a toxic plant. And I just feel like if I add them into bouquets and the customer isn't aware of this, I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit dramatic, but I just don't want to make anyone sick, so I will just grow these to enjoy in the garden. And the beautiful pansies, such a trooper in the winter garden. They tend to withstand the light frosts we receive here in my area. And I've got I just showed you the two varieties. This is Sorbet Dreams, and then this one is more of a, I don't know, frilly, I would consider this more of a kind of whimsical cottage garden style variety. I can't remember the name, so I'll check on the label. Frizzle Sizzle. Frizzle Sizzle. Very pretty indeed. I'll pop some of these in pots. I may even put a bunch of them in the raised garden beds too. Well, that's about it for this week, everyone. Before I head off, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your patience over the last couple of weeks. I'm feeling much better now, thank goodness. I'm gonna get stuck back into it. I'm excited about autumn and even winter too, because there's still plenty we can do here in this part of the world. We get very mild winters with a few light frosts. Very fortunate. I can continue to grow all year long pretty much. As I said before, in winter it's a little bit of a slower pace, but there's still plenty of things happening here. So if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you all again next Friday.